Hi, hopefully you can all hear me since the countdown I was listening to stopped at 5. So, hello everyone. This is Three Houses. Uh, yeah.
We're good. Yes, this is Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Okay. It's like the countdown just stopped at 5. You went like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and it just stopped. Ah. Okay, I've been totally thrown off and no one else is talking right now. So, I don't know if, like...
I think it's pretty much set up to go. And do you want to do a countdown for game?
I can do a countdown whenever you're ready, and I promise I will go all the way to go this time.
Okay. Countdown.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. So, like Claris was saying, this is Fire Emblem Three Houses. I'm Sunny Muffin. I run this game.
And I'm Moonblaze Wolf. I also run this game, although not nearly as well as these two.
I see.
Whoops.
So we're popping right in. There's a few options when you first start this game. A couple of them are actually relevant. So the first one, the choice between female and male. We're going to be running the Crimson Flower version of the run, and you absolutely 100% need to pick female for this run. She is faster. There's certain strategies that you can only do with female Byleth. You pick a name, which is irrelevant, and then you pick a date of birth. The date of birth is important because it does pop up during the game, and you want to make sure that you only have one birthday for the entire run. If you have it pop up twice, that takes a bunch of time.
Yeah, there's also another use in that it gives you a special item on your in-game birthday. And I actually do want to use that item in this run. It's just a minor help.
Yeah, so you get the Black Eagle Pendant. It gives you +2 charm, which is helpful to have. So yeah, this is the prologue. It's pretty simplistic through here. We're just going to run Violet up here. This is a kill the commander map. So if you're familiar with Fire Emblem games, the commander maps just have one objective, and all you need to do is kill that special unit. For Three Houses, quite a few of the maps are going to be this way, and it really helps speed up the run. There's not a ton of route maps in this specific Fire Emblem.
Yeah, so that was an okay first level. I got speed and defense, two really important stats. So do you want to start explaining what each stat does?
Yeah, so the primary stat we're going to be looking for are speed and strength. Strength is directly tied to how hard your attacks hit. There's certain breakpoints that we're going to be having to hit throughout the run in order to do the fastest strategies possible. And then speed determines speed determines your 2x multiplier. So when you outspeed an enemy by 4, you get to attack it twice, which is also really important for hitting those breakpoints.
Yes. It's also important to be fast enough so that the enemies don't double attack you, which isn't nearly as common, but it's still a risk at some points you need to watch out for.
Yep, and it also depends on the weapon that you're holding. So Claris does a couple of cheeky strategies throughout the run where you actually unequip your weapon so you don't get double.
They're talking quite a bit about some of like the battle mechanics and stuff. So just a couple other things I'll just pop in and mention. There's a lot of cutscenes in this game, and we can skip most of them except for a couple. As well as there's this whole great big monastery that, if you've played the game casually, you probably spent a lot of time exploring. We're not going to spend very much time in the monastery.
Yeah, so this Fire Emblem game does a really good job of character development
I hope you've had a chance.
and building the different personalities of the different houses as well as the various members of those houses. But we're not going to be seeing really any of that. In this route, the Edelgard support is important, but every other character does not matter at all. So we're going to be skipping a majority of the monastery sections that are not forced. This one is forced, and Claire's got the long load here. Loads in this game are pretty random. There's like a load line that we found, but it's kind of 50-50 if you get it or not. So some of the doors in this game can be absolutely brutal when you're just sitting there waiting for them to open.
Yeah, that door in particular, I don't understand at all. Like, sometimes it opens really quickly, and sometimes you're just sitting there for like 10-15 seconds. So yeah, I just chose the house I'm going with. That was the house choice. And I'm going with Black Eagles for this run. Each house is a different category. Like, for part 1, it's basically just unit availability that's the difference between each house. And then they branch out more in part 2.
Yeah, for those of you that have played this game before, it's after the time skip is when that branch happens. Black Eagles actually has 2 routes baked into it, and Claris is going to be running the Edelgard route with this specific speed run. The other option would be to go with the church and you fight with the.
Oh, important thing.
So a couple of these early monastery sections are 100% forced. Oh, gotta have the glasses.
Professor, you look.
You gotta look good while you're saving the world.
Shoutouts to Fire Emblem Three Houses DLCs.
Yeah, I've had the DLC for like 5 days. So.
So yeah, we're gonna be moving into the first battle here.
I was supposed to watch that cutscene to get support points with Edelgard, so I'll have to make that up later. Just a minor annoyance.
Yeah, that's okay. So we're moving into the first battle here. This is Rivalry of the Houses. So you're going to be plopped down with you and 4 of your students, and you're going to have to fight the other 2 houses. This is actually like low-key one of the hardest missions in the game to route because your stats really are pretty low. So, and there's some speed tech here. You see Claris is panning the camera to go completely face down. That reduces a little bit of the lag that occurs on this mission because there's a lot of different units, and this game is not very well optimized, so it likes to lag when you have too much stuff.
Yeah, this is like, this movement I just did, I swear it is the worst movement in the entire game because the lag just messes it up so much on this chapter.
Put me in there.
Yeah, so you saw the auto battle right there. So auto battle is a feature of a couple of different Fire Emblem games. We don't use it too much in this game, but when you need to move 4 of your other units and you can put them into like what you know is going to be a set formation, that auto battle really comes in.
Yeah, this is like the only chapter it actually gets used on, but it's really useful for this. Come on, get strength. You haven't gotten any strength so far. Oh my god, still no strength.
Yeah, this is super unlucky. So Byleth has like, I think it's a 55 at this point for a strength growth. So 55% of level up should yield a strength, but it is 100% RNG. So Claris is going to have to be having to deal with that the entire.
Yeah.
So, and speed tech in this game it's pretty subtle. So you see Claris kind of flipping through these units pretty rapidly. If you hit L and R on your controller, you can quickly go between units, but it's not very intuitive. It's kind of like reading a book, where if your next unit is aligned down, it's going to have to wrap around and switch to that. So getting fast on some of these maps requires knowing where your units are going to be and kind of like having that pre-planned out for your unit swaps.
Yeah, there's a lot of Another thing about this game that makes it really interesting for speedrunning is you're going to have to do some amount of improvisation basically every single run, either depending on what stat ups you get, or if you do or don't get criticals, or enemies get criticals. There's all sorts of things that you really just kind of have to be thinking on your feet at a lot of different points throughout the speedrun.
Oh yeah, I should mention that this is classic mode. So units will stay dead when they die. It's just a couple of chapters, that being one of them. Story-wise, it's a mock battle, so they don't actually die. So
Yeah, so
And
this
you're going to see pretty quickly, we actually want all of our unneeded units in the speedrun to die as soon as possible.
Yep, so we're moving through. This is basically the tutorial month. It's teaching you what the Explore does, what Battle does, what Seminar does. So just kind of getting through this section as quickly as possible. All of these are forced. From past this, we're going to just kind of be skipping the entire month. But the game kind of requires you to do a little bit of actually running through the monastery and meeting characters and doing quests. So Claris is just kind of checking off those boxes and completing what is required.
yeah, right now I'm actually running down here to get the fishing pond on the map so that I'll be able to warp there later.
Is there?
Yep, fast travel in this game requires you to actually visit the areas that you want to fast travel to. Since this is a speed run, we don't really fully explore the monastery, but there is areas that we will need to be going back to a little bit later in order to get, in that specific case, we need to unlock the battalions from the fishing pond. So it makes sense to kind of go down there and tag it there while you are already heading in that direction.
Yeah, so here's the lessons.
Understood.
So you can set skill goals for all of your students to go towards, and that is super useful because you'll be able to gain skills without you ever actually using them in battle and such.
Yep, so you gain a set amount of experience just by teaching your students outside of battle. So every month you're going to get some experience in whatever your goals you set for your students are. So you see there that Claris set Edelgard to axe and flying. That's going to be really important later when we go for a certification after that.
It should, one little subtle thing there too is the skill experience is different than like your unit's level as well. So, you know, you can still have like a level 1 character that knows a lot of advanced
She
abilities.
got strength. She got strength.
So this is the only forced optional battle. This is just a tutorial battle where they're going to be throwing a bunch of dudes at you. So you just put your Byleth in the bush here. The bush gives you an extra chance to dodge, and you let everybody run to Byleth, and she just mows them down.
Yeah, like on this specific map, all the enemies are like insanely weak, so Byleth can just sit here and let everything take care of itself.
Yeah, one little thing about that too is if you are just passing the turn and letting the enemies all come to you, you don't have to deal with any of the battle animations or anything like that unless Byleth gets a level up. And so you noticed Claris only did an actual attack on that very last enemy to finish the fight.
Yeah, not even that was necessary. I could have just still ended the turn, but once there's only one enemy left, you might as well just go ahead.
So the last thing coming up here with the tutorial month is going to be the seminar, which is where one of the other school professors comes and gives your students some skill points.
The glory.
How long?
So here's the game teaching you how to seminar. This is only going to be used once in this specific route because it is required. Manuela teaches Faith and Sword, so the students that attend her seminar will get experience in those specific.
Yeah, so that gets Linhart Faith experience, and that gives Byleth Sword experience. Both of those are useful. so she's definitely the seminar to pick for this category. Actually, for every category. But
Yeah, Faith leads to one of the, at least for the purposes of the speed run, one of the most busted abilities that we will, or Claris will be using throughout some of the later half of the run, and probably even before that a little bit as well, which is Warp. It's not even really for healing or anything like that.
anyway, now I removed everyone's weapons and am unequipping everyone, which I'm sure nothing bad will come out of that.
Oh no, this is how you teach your students. You want to make sure to throw them into the wild with nothing on them, and just kind of see how they.
This is like the worst field trip.
Hubert demonstrated he has a lot to learn still.
Yeah, I mean, this is the practical version of the exam in month 2. I think they're ready for it, but I don't know. They might just be not as prepared as we thought they were.
Yeah, one of the funny things to me about being like a professor in this game is this battle in particular, where you just throw all your students in to the wolves, and then also if you have any of like the little teaching cutscenes, you always just choose answer A.
No, I actually purposely choose the worst option to get less professor experience.
So you actually just give the worst advice on purpose too. This is the greatest teaching simulator speedrun for sure.
Again, that's just another subtle optimization. If you don't gain enough professor points to rank up, you don't have to deal with all the prompts that pop up when you do gain a new professor.
Oh my god,
So-
Ferdinand, why are you...
So Ferdinand is a hero. He actually learned a lot from that first month of
Okay, one of the best parts of the run, right here. Thanks to the efforts of Byleth, all your allies' motivations increase.
Don't forget the cutscene. So yeah, again, playing on normal and classic. The reason for playing on classic is you're able to actually kill off your students there. If you have them alive the entire time, they just eat time. Their birthdays are still going to be on the calendar. They're going to pop up for their instruction, and it takes a ton of time. So you want to make sure to be going through the run with as few units as possible. I guess this would be a good time to mention the support route for Edelgard. So in order to unlock the Crimson Flower version of the Black Eagle story, you need to get Edelgard to C+ support. So it's routed out to the point where you select the correct option on a couple of cutscenes, as well as gift Edelgard a couple of things, and it just works out that you get to C+, and you're able to unlock her version of the story.
Yeah, I spent way too long, like, exactly routing out. For,
Yeah,
like,
but-
what maybe saves, like, 10-15 seconds for just giving her a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, before there was like accurately data mined values for support, we were trying all sorts of ridiculous stuff. Like we had a route where we ate with Edelgard 5 times, and that just took way too long. And it was really just trial and error until those data mine values came out. And Claris put in a ton of work to optimize it to make it so it's the fastest possible. So right there, we're unlocking battalions. So battalions are a unique thing to 3 houses. It gives you a special move called a gambit. So each battalion has its own unique thing that it does. One of the more broken ones that we're going to be abusing is stride. Stride increases the movement of all of the.
Hold on.
all the
Happy
heroes that-
birthday, Edelgard. That gives 5 support points, so it's like, if you forget that, it's like, well, crap.
Yeah, you can't forget Edelgard's birthday. Edelgard is the best girl in this run, so you got to make sure you take.
Yeah, this is a very educational game where it shows you the major downsides of forgetting your friend's birthday.
So yeah, moving into chapter 3 here. This is probably one of the most RNG components of the speedrun. You have a fog of war map, which is only used once in the main story. Like they introduced this fog of war mechanic, and they never bring it back for other story missions. There's one paralogue that does use it. You have Catherine, who is an NPC that likes to kind of do her own thing. You want her to like help you out, but sometimes she just decides to wander off into the fog and do nothing. And then you also have Unkillable Axe Guy, who is one of the NPCs on this map that just does not like to die.
Yeah, basically my strat is to ignore him and hope he doesn't gambit me.
Yeah, so part of the battalion component is that when you get gambited by an enemy, it removes your gambit for that turn. So your battalion is giving you some passive stats, and right now you have quite a few passive stats from just because you leveled it up to level 5.
I did not get gambited, which is perfect. Although she missed the boss, not a big deal though.
So yeah, this is what can get a little bit scary. If you do get gambited, you can't move, and it does strip you of your battalion, so you lose quite a bit of those passives. But Claris made that look real easy.
I saw Yuritsa being mentioned in chat.
I'm
Yes, he makes a difference, so it's very minor. We'll get to that later in the run.
So that's basically through the gauntlet. So those first 3 missions are way more difficult than the upcoming missions. So the next mission is going to be super easy. There's really not a lot of variance within it, and then we move on from.
yes.
That cutscene's the worst because every other cutscene gives support when you select the option, but like you arbitrarily have to wait like 2 seconds for it to actually give you the support points there.
May I?
So it's so easy to just skip the cutscene too soon and not get the actual support. What
so
were you
now-
gonna say?
Oh, yeah, just now we're at the point where you can really speed up the run. So all of the required monastery sections are behind us, and you can just go ahead and start skipping to the battle, which is always at the end of the month.
Yeah. There are
I'm getting
3
some-
more monastery explorations left. But they're no longer forced.
All right, so this is Assault at the Rite of Rebirth. This is going to be the first map where you see Stride used. So throughout the rest of the run, Stride is going to
quick.
be used to kind of speed up your character.
Byleth on the loading screen is motion controlled. You control her by tilting your controller back and forth.
It is the best use of the gyro in the controller on any game. Changed my mind.
I will prevail. Stay focused.
Yeah, so you saw how far Byleth just moved because of Stride.
Yeah, so Stride is like kind of one of the trifecta for speedrunning this game. So Stride is going to increase your movement speed. Later on, we're going to get a Dancer, which is going to allow you to move twice. And then Warp was explained a little bit earlier, but that's going to enable you to just kind of skip over terrain. So once you have all 3 of those, this route really, really speeds up and you start going smooth. So your Byleth is actually looking pretty decent, Claris.
It's so hard for me to properly pay attention to all of her stats. Like, I generally end up, like, watching 1 or 2 at a time. That kind of messes me up sometimes.
Yeah, that was your 20 strength right there.
What was her speed though? That's like a really scary
Nazi speed.
question.
So in order to go through this game fast, you mash through those menus, and like Claris was saying, you kind of pay attention to certain numbers there. I know I always look at strength because you have a couple of hard cutoffs before time skip with Violet.
Yeah, there is an item near the end of part 1 that gives you 2 strength, but you would much rather save that for using on Aelgard in part 2 and not on Byleth in part 1.
Yeah, so if you're following along, we're looking for about 24 strength by chapter 8. So that was just chapter 4, and the next few missions are pretty quick. You're going to get quite a bit of experience on chapter 5 and chapter 7, but beyond that, your level ups are going to start coming slower, just because the level of the game is kind of catching up to where your Byleth is at. Right now, Byleth is super over-leveled and really overpowered.
Which is a good thing too, because this is one of the worst chapters right here.
Yeah, so this is chapter 5. This map is just a giant pain. The terrain requires you to go all the way up and around this tower, is what they call it. And it takes forever. And some of the units are really, really scary. Claris is going to be doing some very precise movement in the first half in order to kind of set up the second half so it can go as quickly and safely as possible.
Oh, and one thing to note about battalions is that they do actually take damage, and once they run out, you stop getting any benefits from them. So you have to like replenish your battalions by spending money between battles.
Yep, you gotta heal them up. If you run out in the middle of a battle, you lose those passive stats your battalion is giving you, which can just be you can end the mission right there if you don't have this.
Yeah.
Alright, so you're going to see some weapon switching here. So Sword of the Creator is Byleth's unique weapon. It allows her to attack from 2 tiles away, and it's I think the only sword in the game that'll let you do that. So she equips it there. Okay, Levin sword too. But she equips it there because there's a caster unit that wants to come and attack you, and if you have the Sword of the Creator equipped, you can actually counterattack it, as opposed to the caster just kind of getting a free hit off.
Yeah, 15 speed is actually not good at this point, but oh well.
It'll be
So, I just grabbed the accuracy ring, which increases accuracy by 10, which is huge a lot of parts.
Yep, accuracy plus 10 is a lot on just a support item. So that it's going to wind up being more important for them.
It's kind of complicated to explain, but hit rates in this game are not accurate. Nor have they been in like most Fire Emblem games.
So if you want your daily dose of map, go to Serene Forest and look up the 2RN RNG system.
Yeah, search for true
very
hit.
complicated.
Basically, hit rates above 50 are actually better than they seem, and below 50 are worse than they seem. So much so that like an 80% hit rate is actually like 92.8% hit. It makes a pretty big difference.
So Gilbert did his job there. He kind of tanked up the units over on the right-hand side there, and he actually lived, which is awesome. So he can take a couple of extra hits here. This is a boss monster. You can see that it has 4 tiles. 2 attacks or 1 gambit will break one of the tiles, and that will allow you to do more damage to the boss. So you'll see this used on a couple of different maps. This is just kind of the first introduction to those maps. So
And the other mechanic is the diamonds that you see there. They started as red. That's kind of like how many shields it has. So you have to deplete its health bar that many times.
Yep. This boss is not a big deal. It's kind of a pushover, but it does have 3. It does have 3 health bars you need.
Yeah. It's more scary when some of the other enemies survive and surround you as well. And so this is one of the few unskippable cutscenes in the game. So you get to see like how ridiculous skipping through all the text quickly looks.
You please.
Yeah, there's some mashing tech here. The faster you mash your A and B buttons, the faster you can get through this. So moving into chapter 6 here, this is going to be another monastery section. This is the first section where Claris is going to be boosting Edelgard's support a little bit more intentionally than just the stuff that just kind of pops up, as well as we're going to be recruiting Shamir and renting Annette.
Her services are required.
Yep. In this game, you can there's two ways that you can play with members of the other houses. You can rent them for a mission. You just kind of borrow them. They pop into the mission. You can control them just for that month. And then you can actually recruit them. We don't actually recruit any of the other students in this specific run because it takes way too long.
Professor.
Are you getting Lusepia?
Sylvain.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Sylvain.
Also, I was supposed to change Edelgard's goals a month ago, and I totally forgot.
There's a lot of...
Hope that doesn't matter. I'm honestly not sure if that matters or not.
Real beef. So yeah, what happened there is, so Claris has Edelgard learning heavy armor for the first part of the run in order to unlock weight -3. That helps a little bit with the breakpoints after the time skip. And then she was supposed to switch her back to flying there in order to get Edelgard to the Wyvern class that we're going to be using on her later. So hopefully that's not going to make a big deal. She should have enough flying experience in order to still learn that class at the appropriate time.
I have a request.
So yeah, just kind of moving through the monastery here. You have to do a couple of quests. So your good old dad here, he has a quest for you to learn how to give people stuff, because apparently you have to do a quest in order to give people things. And then Edelgard is our favorite girl, so we're gonna go ahead and just gift bomb her right here in order to get a whole bunch of support.
Yeah, that's gift giving one of two right there. The second has more gifts than the first.
It should also be noted, just really quick, that the quest is you giving him his flask, which I've always found a little bit disturbing.
Yeah, so what I just did is like get Annette for mission assistance for this specific chapter. And it's, for one thing, she has as her personal skill rally strength. So she gives +4 strength when she rallies someone, which is needed for this specific strat coming up.
Yeah, so this strat is really cool. You might remember this map casually, where you kind of have to go around, use the transporters, and do various things like that. That's really slow, and I'm not going to be doing any. So some of the other routes have various ways of dealing with this chapter as well, that are also pretty quick. But I think this is probably the most fun strategy of the ones that are used in this group.
Whoops.
Stay focused. To work.
As you can see, Death Knight has 18 crit, so...
Yep, so Shamir is a sniper right now. It gives her extra range, which allows her to hit the Death Knight through the wall on the other side. And it's going to take 3 hits to kill. If Shamir gets crit, you have to do what we call an RN reset. So when you load into a map...
Shamir, come on!
So she keeps getting crit here. When you load into a map, you're on a set seed. So if you make the same actions, you're going to get the same outcome. So what we have to do in order to switch that RNG is to do what seems like an unrelated action that'll.
Yeah,
switch
I'm
into a
out of
different
divine
seed.
pulses, so like
Stay vigilant.
you can only rewind time 3 times at the start of the game, and
Nice.
I had to use all 3 of them because the Death Knight kept critting.
That'll happen. So crit in this game is actually just 1 RN. So it is true crit as opposed to your hit rates, which are 2.
And here's another unskippable
Yes.
cutscene. I don't really understand why.
I see.
You know.
I see. After
Like,
You gotta get some lore in here. You can't skip all of the lore.
yeah, it's like every other cutscene has some sort of reason for being unskippable, except that one.
So yeah, moving on to what I find to be the worst chapter of the game. This is the Battle of the Eagle and Lion. This chapter is absolutely horrendous, and I'm sure Claris just loves it so.
Yeah.
So basically, what's going to happen is Claris is just going to skip to the end of the month, and we're going to go ahead and load into it. This battle is probably the biggest point of RNG at this point in the run. You're going to have Byleth against the world, well, Byleth and Flame against the world, and you have to take out the other 2 houses, and your only unit really worth anything right now is Byleth. Flame can give you a little bit of healing support, but you're going to have to rely on some good RNG, and this map can go a whole slew of different ways. I've never really seen it play out the exact same way twice. So Claris is going to have to do some adapting on the fly of the route and kind of figuring out what the fastest way through this map is going to be.
Yeah, so this is like chapter 1, where the houses are fighting each other. Except, unlike chapter 1, the other 2 houses do actually fight each other. And so that adds a ton of randomness to how those battles turn out between the 2 enemy factions. So
So another cutscene there, getting a little bit of support. Each cutscene is adding to that support in order to get to C and eventually C+ in order to unlock the proper story.
Yeah, one other thing about this being another mock battle, aside from the fact that we're fighting against the other houses, is if we lose Flame in this battle, for example, she's not permanently lost. It's only just for this month, or for this mission.
yeah, this is the last of 3 battles that are mock battles where you don't actually lose your unit. Strength,
So yeah,
strength, strength, strength. Yes! She has 18 defense. That is super good.
And you got a speed up there too. Yeah, so Byleth hit the 24 strength breakpoint that she needs to get before chapter. And so this battle, Claris has the first couple of turns kind of planned out with what she wants to do. So right now, Flame and Byleth are going to be tag teaming, kind of moving up the map. Ingrid is the first big problem here. She's the mounted unit off to the left. She can just decide to one-shot you, so she's super, super scary. But Flame is kind of providing a buffer right there, allowing Claris to go ahead and just take out Ingrid super quick.
Ingrid is actually way easier to take out now that I've switched to getting the accuracy ring.
Let us
Like-
away.
That gives such a huge accuracy buff. So, it's way more consistent now.
She can still decide to one-shot you, though.
Yeah, I hope she doesn't do that.
So Felix here, Felix doesn't like to move. So all of the other units on the map, except for Claude, generally move from their starting positions. So Claris just kind of beelines down to Felix since he's one of the ones that doesn't move. And he'll just sit there and just take a whole bunch of time. And you kind of see the battle raging on between the Blue Lions and Golden Deer here. So Dude is the next big problem. So generally, you can gambit him twice and take him out that way. But right now, he has a ton of support, so this is a little bit scary.
Luckily, they're still fighting each other, so like you'll see the red units and the green units are both just duking it out. I should have healed there. Hopefully it doesn't matter. Oh god, it did matter.
So you see that DU gambited Violet there. So you lose a whole bunch of stats and you can't move. So it gets pretty scary here. But it looks like you got pretty lucky because Ferdinand decided to go off and fight these archers, which really helps you out.
Good old Ferdinand von Eyre.
That's actually Sylvain, but really, is it everyone for an Amphonire?
Yeah, everybody is. I'm getting my routes confused. too many different characters in this game. But yeah, looks like cleanup is going pretty well. Those archers can kind of be a pain if they decide to not get attacked by the other faction.
Yeah.
And then this guy's trying to be a hero. He's beelining Edelgard here. So Edelgard is one of the win conditions for this map, so you have to make sure that she stays alive.
Yeah.
So,
That's unfortunate because once it gets down to only a few enemies, they will just try to run for her and take her out.
So that was a little bit of a time loss, having to kind of run up the map to stop that guy from killing Edelgard. But then you just have to run down here, finish off Claude, and this mission is over. That actually went pretty smooth.
Stay focused.
Yeah, so he used the Sword of the Creator so much it broke. Yeah, the thing with Sword of the Creator this run, it's a unique weapon in that it repairs by 5 every time you rest on a day off. And casual play, you are not going to rest like ever. But in a speedrun, you're skipping through everything, and that's resting. So you like essentially have a full Sword of the Creator every chapter, and that is super useful to have.
Yep, and there's only a couple missions where it's really a problem. So that chapter 7 being one, just because there's so many units you have to take. So yeah, that was kind of the big choke point for the early game. So we're going to be moving on. These next couple missions are pretty quick, since Claris was able to hit that 24 strength breakpoint on Byleth. All of these units are going to be a one-shot in this next mission, which is going to make it pretty much a guaranteed 3-turn, assuming any shenanigans are...
Hi, I'm Claris, because I guess some people in chat don't realize that.
So this is Remire. This map requires you to it starts as a route map, but then the win condition changes on turn 3. So what we're gonna do is set up Byleth into a position where she can kill the commander right when he spawns on turn 3. So you'll see some positioning and getting him over there, so that Byleth can go ahead and take out Solon, who is the boss of this map. I guess this would be a good time to kind of talk about some of the other speed tech that you do on the actual overmapping. So I mentioned the L and R to switch between units quickly. Another thing that Claris is doing is if you hold down Y when you were selecting a unit and kind of moving them through the grid, that's going to speed up your cursor. So it actually goes pretty slow if you're not doing that. And when you do hold down Y, it goes super, super quick. Another thing that you can do is if you click onto your unit, so I think Claris is going to do it here. So you can go ahead and automatically attack or use an ability when you like hover over an enemy unit like that. So instead of moving to the tile that's adjacent to this enemy, Claris drags her cursor onto the enemy and then attacks from there. You can also switch it up and switch weapons and switch your combat arts in order to kind of speed that up as well. but that is just some little bit of speed tech that will kind of make your movement a little bit more fluid and speed up your maps.
Yeah, so that was it. Stride is super broken.
And you're not even doing stride with dance yet.
No, that's 2 chapters away.
One other little piece of speed tech that I could not figure out for the longest time, for the life of me, I don't know why, is you still have a battle animation when you attack, but you can also press B to cancel that battle animation. So you won't really see a lot of the fights happening or the gambits going off or things like that, because Claris is just going to be canceling out those animations immediately after selecting them.
You know, my original Black Eagles PB, the 124, was done before I knew about holding Y to make the cursor move faster. There are so many small things in this game that are like easy to not know about.
Yeah, it adds a lot of depth as a speed game for this run. Like, you might think that Fire Emblem, oh, you just kind of move your units throughout the map and you mash through cutscenes. It's really not that. A lot of the speed tech does require a lot of skill, and you really have to be paying attention in order to kind of optimize all of those little things.
This is why you use female Byleth. Is because Sylvain, we're recruiting him here. And
So, Professor.
he has no requirements for being recruited if you were playing female Byleth.
Yeah, he loves his ladies, so he's willing to join you right away for no requirement.
Thank.
So here's gift bomb number 2, getting that Edelgard support up. So yeah, Sylvain is really important in this run because you need a dancer. So the other routes tend to use Flame as the dancer, since she's a free unit that you get, but since we're not going a route that keeps Flame, you have to kind of back it up into Sylvain. He has enough charm right now in order to win the dance competition just outright. You don't need to do any training or anything like that in order to get him to the point where he wins it.
Since it was brought up, you need to pick female Byleth in both Black Eagles routes, Crimson Flower and Silver Snow, at least with the current routes. But Golden Deer and Blue Lion's gender does not make a difference, at least at the moment.
Yeah, but female Byleth only loses like 0.1 seconds and is way...
You pick the girl. That's always the best.
So I always like to joke that she takes up less room on the screen during the Monastery sections, so I can see what I'm doing.
I vote.
Yes, Sylvain won!
Oh my gosh, yes!
Oh yeah, that's another part of the dance competition, is that you need at least 14 charm for your charm stat. And Sylvain comes with exactly 14 charm when you recruit him.
Yep.
You actually get a 5-point charm bonus if you waste a little bit of time, but it's still nice.
Yeah, when you recruit other students in this game, they do come with set stats, and there's a formula that you can use to determine what their stats are going to be on any given chapter that you recruit them, because students in the background are leveling up as the story progresses as well. So when you get Sylvain, he's not level 1; he is adjusted to where you're at. All right, so this mission coming up, this is the chapel mission. It's kind of a nightmare. You have 4 lizards that you have to take out, and one of them doesn't really like to move. So Claris is going to be doing some pretty specific movement here in order to aggro the top right lizard so it doesn't just wander off.
Strength.
Yeah, it's...
I will prevail.
That's
Stay
pretty
focused.
weird.
Let us away.
A lot of the routing in this game is
To work.
just like very subtle things that do save just a little bit of time, but those things add up over the course of the run. So I know Claris just did a big reroute of this entire route,
I'm on it.
and it wound up saving, what is it, about 4 or 5 minutes over your original.
Yeah, I don't know the exact amount, like... Oh my god, her magic stat is horrible. Oh well. Yeah, so you're doing warp, because for some reason, the monster bubby will not attack you, even if you're technically in range of it, unless you warp up like that. Oh
Yeah,
my
there's
god.
like
I had the wrong weapon equipped.
So there's like a little invisible line on this map where if you're above it, that lizard in the top right will actually come down and start to fight you. But if you don't get past that line, that lizard is going to go way off the top right of the map, and it's going to be super, super.
To work.
So Shamir did not kill off this this lizard here, so Claris is going to be switching up the attack that Shamir is doing in order to keep her safe, because we do need her a little bit.
Someone just die.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Oh, Linhart. Linhart's dead.
Oh no.
So yeah, like I said, this mission is it's a nightmare. You basically only have Byleth and Shamir that are actually able to deal damage here, and your other units are super, super squishy. So if the lizards ever decide they want to go kill them, they can just go one shot.
Let us away.
And you kind of see this overlay that Claris is using too. So that purple is the aggro range of those lizards. So she moved Linhart into what was a safe square on that particular turn before that other lizard moved down and got the range.
Stay focused.
So this is getting pretty ad-libbed. By not switching weapons, the lizard didn't get broken on its attack that first turn. So Claris is having to use some backup strats here in order to finish them. So you just kind of use Sylvain, dancing Byleth here, getting multiple turns in because Byleth is the only one that's actually dealing it.
Sorry.
Gerald comes in to kind of help out as well.
Yeah, so that kind of spiraled out of control, but that happens when there's so much luck involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things that you need to remember, and if something isn't the same as you're used to it, then those maps can go drastically different than you're used.
Yeah, it all came from the fact that I had Byleth equipped with the wrong weapon at one point.
Yeah, there's just, as someone who's still learning a lot of the things about the speedrun, I mean, some of these things matter so much and you wouldn't think it. They mentioned what weapon you have equipped, but, literally like what tile you're standing on and other things like that, formations, all that stuff. Like, a lot of it can be ad-libbed out of, but a lot of times you have to set it up really, really well. Otherwise, bad things happen too.
So that energy drop that Claris got there is going to be important to the route. That is a permanent +2 strength stat boost. So I think Byleth in this run is going to be good enough that you don't need to use it on Byleth, which allows you to use it on Edelgard, who's going to be the carry character for the second half of the run.
Yeah, you'll notice we haven't used Edelgard at all in part 1. And that's for very good reason. In that every character below level 20 gets auto-leveled to level 20 at the start of part 2. At least on normal mode. So
not just that too. So Edelgard actually is classed to Armor Knight at level 1, which increases her base stats, and then she gets auto leveled to 20, which makes it so her strength can be numbers that are not actually possible if you were to level her now.
Yeah, like for example, reclassing to
Stay focused.
Armored Lord gives her like +9 HP and +4 strength over her base stats. Oh yeah. Also, you now see the absurdity of stride plus.
Yeah, stride plus dance allows Byleth to get all the way to Kranya in one turn, which is just absolutely insane. So right now that we're gonna go ahead and end turn here, and then Byleth is gonna finish off Kranya. There is a strategy where if Byleth actually one-shots Kranya, like if you have an absolutely absurd Byleth, then you can save a good amount of time on this mission by doing it all.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to do this really weird
Let us away.
backup.
Yeah, and interestingly, so this map, you're still on turn 2. So the Kranya cutscene plays, your units refresh, but you're still on the same turn. So all of your buffs will carry over, and all of your other things that you had from that turn will hold over. So if you're able to do the one-turn strategy, you still have that original stride. But right now, Claris is having to do a backup here in order to get Byleth strided, and she's going to have to run all the way around this like little cliff area, and using stride to get all the way up to Solon here and go and take him out. So yeah, that's the power of dance and stride.
Don't worry, there's still even more absurdity to come. Much more absurdity.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of little subtle things with the routing too. So on that specific map, your starting position that you have your units in affects where they teleport to after you kill Kranya. So part of like actually routing this game out, you have to know where those units are going to pop up on that second phase, or else that backup just isn't.
Yeah. It's like, for its current Crimson Flower route, it just happens to work out that those starting positions are good enough. But like, other routes, you have to like specifically manage like where each unit starts at the beginning so that they'll start in the correct place in the middle. It's kind of weird.
So again, just subtle things about the routing in this game. So right now, Byleth is switching to Enlighten 1, which gives her some sweet green hair, and that levels her up to Super Saiyan, which is awesome.
Got it.
Technique.
Yeah. Minor thing it gives her is skill that you do extra 2 damage outright. But the big thing is that it upgrades the Sword of the Creator to do 8 more damage in less weight. So
Perfect. It will. It's there is.
so this is the important part of the game where you have to be at C+ with Edelgard and then talk to her in the last month.
From this.
And so by doing that, I'm able to do the Edelgard route,
So yeah,
which is the correct route through the game.
We're at.
There's a lot of little things that you can miss in this route. So especially like if you're somebody that's new to the game that wants to learn how to run it, this route is very unforgiving because if you do mess up any of those supports, then you just don't unlock the correct route. And I believe it's still bugged that if you don't do her pop-up, you don't get the support from it. So you can completely ruin a run by just forgetting one of them.
Yeah, fortunately, I have enough backups now that I don't have to worry about that really, as long as you remember that you missed the pop. Like,
Yeah, it can be kind of a pain, especially if you don't know where the cutscenes are that give additional support and you don't know how to back. Alright, so this map is really cool. This is another just kind of kill the commander map. In this specific route, you know who the protagonist is. You know that it's Edelgard up there, whereas every other route it's just the Flame Emperor. So a little bit of spoilers. You get him early here. You see Claris is going to unequip Linhardt's spell, which is going to make it so he doesn't get double attacked. If he was to get double attacked, he would just die instantly here. That would not be good, because we're going to be needing him in order to get up to Edelgard's level.
yeah.
So So doing some very specific setup here. Gotta have everybody in a line so they can all get strided. And now we're going to be using the entire trifecta. We're going to go ahead and stride all three of these characters, move up, warp Byleth over the ledge, and take out a...
I'd like to take it easy.
Yeah, and that's with only 2 warp range. That's still enough to just skip a ton of stuff.
Perfect.
So yeah, this run's moving right along. This Byleth is actually pretty decent. Just got another speed up. So it's all gas from here. You gotta... The run is basically at the point where you have everything that you need, and you're just going to be going from map to map to map, just kind of going as quickly as possible, using those 3 things in order to speed up the maps as much.
I mean, I guess there's one more thing that we need after the time skip that Edelgard gets, but yeah, like you saw the 3 abilities right there all get used to just kind of fundamentally break that map, which is something that you'll continue to see throughout the rest of the run from now on most of them.
So Claris decided to go with Edelgard because she is best girl. You don't want to go with the church. You want to side with Edelgard right there. And then this is the point where the routes all diverge. So this map coming up is completely unique to the Crimson Flower storyline, and it doesn't appear in any of the other.
Yeah, so every other route you're fighting Edelgard here, but since you side with Edelgard, you're fighting the church instead and advancing from the opposite direction. So that actually makes the chapter a lot more complicated. Like, it's super simple in the other routes. What chapter they get here?
Yeah, so this map is actually really cool. So it starts off as a kill the commander map. There are 3 commanders that you have to take out. So Sedith, Flane, and Gilbert all appear on the map, but they're really spread out. So one thing that we found when we were routing this game is that you don't actually need to kill all 3 of them. The map will go ahead and progress as you hit a certain turn threshold.
Oh, no. I just... Oh, no. I have to do this to, like, fix my unit ordering for later.
Yeah, so this game is kind of weird. So as you add and remove people to your party that are going to be appearing on the map, they're in a set order. So like you have a set of starting positions that are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the units kind of slot into those in that order. So Claris right there had to fix that in order to set up the second half of the run because she's used to units being in a certain spot. A lot of the map strategies and a lot of the speed optimizations come from knowing where those units are going to be and quickly being able to move to them. If you have it messed up and they're in a different spot, your routing just gets completely thrown off. So fixing it right there, it takes a little bit of time, but it's going to save a lot of time later on. So yeah, basically Byleth is running it down mid right here, just charging forward, leaving Edelgard in the back. She's just going to chill back there. So on this map, you have those 3 commanders. You can actually get really lucky and have your NPCs take out both of the other commanders that you don't wind up killing. And that speeds up the map just a little bit. But for the most part, you're just kind of waiting until turn 12, and then you're going to go ahead and take out Rhea, who is the final commander on this map. That win condition changes once you hit turn 12, or you take out the 3 commanders that are in this little front area. So real cool strat there. Claris uses a door key. For some reason, that drawbridge, it just takes a generic door key, and then the drawbridge comes down. I don't know what kind of drawbridge that is, but it's pretty cool that it happens that way.
Yeah, and we get a door key like way earlier on in the run, like one of the battles from the first half of the run. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head which one it even is.
The one with the Death Knight.
That's right.
All right, so here we go. So this is Timeskip. Every route in this game has the time skip. You jump forward 5 years, and all of your units get some sweet new appearances, and they also get auto leveled to 20. This is something that's unique to normal mode in this game, and it's the reason this speedrun is done on normal. On hard and on
Well,
maddening, they
There's
have
other
different rules.
reasons, but that's a huge reason for not.
Yeah.
No, too soon. Don't do that. No, 5 years
Yeah.
later, we don't do that.
Yeah, so you might be asking, where's the hard speedrun? Where's the maddening speedrun? None of these strats will really work for those, so you're welcome to route them if you want to see. Yeah, all of these units got auto leveled to 20, which is really, really handy because we've just been neglecting character growth outside of Violet the entire time. And then now your Edelgard gets supercharged. She gets what is arguably the most broken weapon in the game in Amir when she gets leveled up to Armor Lord here. And we're just going to use that to kind of destroy the rest of the game. So this is probably the biggest menu of the game. So basically just setting up Edelgard here, putting the accuracy ring on her so she can go ahead and use her axe. Axes have an inherently lower hit chance than other weapons, so putting that on her gives her a better chance to hit some of these enemies and take them out pretty quickly, as well as buying some new stuff, getting some elixirs, getting another weapon or two on Edelgard here, putting on the training axe, which is going to be used in the upcoming mission, as well as adding some stuff to Jaritza and getting everybody set up basically for the last few chapters.
And Jaritza became available how many days ago?
Less
Like
than a week.
5, something like that. Yeah, so Yuritsa's a very new addition. He doesn't actually change that much. What you would do instead is recruit Lysithia, which you can actually really easily do in part 2. If you defeat her next chapter, then she just, like, you can just ask her to join you, and she does. But since the game just gives you Yuritsa at this point, you just use him instead, which makes me sad. I miss Lysithia.
Yep, so every map from here on out is a Kill the Commander map. So here we have Judith on the bridge. You see Claris classed Edelgard to Wyvern Knight right here. That's going to give Edelgard flying, which is super important because it enables you to fly over terrain. So just by abusing this, you can go ahead and skip this entire map, fly straight to Judith, and use the train axe here to go ahead and take it out.
So these sets are okay. Speed could be a little higher, but that's fine. 33 strength out of here. It was like 30-31 defense, I think, which is super good. So yeah, this 80 is okay.
Yeah,
Was that with accuracy ring, by the way? I was curious
Yes,
about that.
yes, it was.
Yeah, so basically what the game does when you hit time skip is it'll switch Edelgard to Armored Lord, giving those base stats up, and then it's going to go ahead and roll 19 level ups. So you can get anywhere from high 20s to upper 30s on your strength roll. So it's a complete RNG, just you cross your fingers and you hope, because you're an hour into the run, and a bad Edelgard can end your run at this point.
Yeah, so it's basically you wait for that first level against Judith and just pray for the best.
It is really handy that you do get class to Armored Lord, though, because Armored Lord has better stat growths than her base Noble class.
Yes,
So
that's also huge.
Yeah, so that's going to get her more strength, more speed, more defense, and it's just going to make her a better unit. So we purposely leave Edelgard at level 1 in order to kind of take advantage of those game stack.
I mean, if you want to get technical, maybe you could manipulate it. I haven't looked into it, but it would require like totally restarting the game, like at the beginning of chapter 12, the battle part. So, it wouldn't be worth the time lost to do that.
Yeah, you would have to back up to the beginning of chapter 12, redo chapter 12, and then go through time skipping.
No, I'm talking about like literally manipulating it, like with like adjusting the switch clock and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's clean up. What's my strategy?
Because no, not you.
For
Oh my
the
god, I'm
Empire.
totally forgetting what to do here.
So this is part of the route change that Claris made 5 days ago with Jaritza being available.
What's the plan?
Her old route went and took out Lysethia with Violet here, which when you take out Lysethia, she gives you an option to join your team.
Oh,
She's
quick
pretty-
thing. I need Chad's opinion here.
Enough.
What's
You
gonna happen to
bested.
Claude?
If I die here, the Alliance becomes part
Do
of the
you kill or
Empire.
do you save the Claude?
Do you yield then? You've never known when to give up.
Well, I can't just surrender so easily. I'm responsible for the others. If you're as smart as you seem, I bet you figured out why I was able to summon Elmira and
I don't know. He's pretty
Wouldn't it be
schemy.
better to let me go and have me in your debt?
Okay. Most of the chat so far seems to be spare.
I see. Right until the very end, I've read this whole thing terribly wrong. All my hopes have fallen to ash. It's all up to you now, Edelgard. I hope you really do make the world better.
Everybody, raise your voices in a victory cheer. Deirdre is ours.
She is cold as hell.
So yeah, you saw there a little bit of the breaking of the game that Amir can. So that map is like gigantic, but by using Stride, using Dance, you're able to get all the way to Claude in one turn.
Yeah, it's actually a specific combat art called Raging Storm that is exclusive to that weapon that allows you to take an extra turn after you use it.
Yep. So the entire late game for the Crimson Flower route is routed around Amir. So Amir is a weapon with 20 durability, and you get 5 uses of Raging Storm out of it. So Raging Storm will refresh that a turn and allow you to go again. And then we are going to repair Amir once. So in chapter 17 or in chapter 16, there is a mechanical robot that we get that'll give you the Regent to allow you to repair Amir. So we're going to get 10 uses out of your Amir, and it's going to be just kind of carry us through the rest of this game.
Technique.
All
Yeah,
right,
it's
so
awfully. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to talk about the map. Go for it.
Oh no, you're good. I was just going to talk about repairing Amir, but I'm sure we can talk about that later.
Yeah, so this upcoming map is also unique to the Crimson Flower route. So the other chapters, you are defending Garreg and here you're going to be attacking Garreg so
No, you are defending, but
it's more of a
basically their strategy you do in the other routes are what the enemy is trying to do to you, and so you're trying to stop it from being done instead. Like the other routes, you set everything on fire. This route, they're trying to set everything on fire to screw you up.
Yeah, so this is another Kill the Commander map. That's a theme of the late game of Black Eagles. You gotta kill a lot of commanders. But in this
Clean up.
specific map, some of the commanders are other units in the game. So a really cool thing that you can do that was used originally in the run but not used anymore is you can recruit the commanders that are on this map, and they get replaced with a weaker version of themselves. So this first commander that Claris is going to kill here is originally Shamir, but she gets replaced by this generic unit right here. Uses that one charge of aim here. You can go ahead and kill off that commander. Next commander coming up here is Sedith. This Sedith can actually be pretty hard if your Edelgard doesn't have good enough stats, but he's going to go ahead and take 2 uses of Raging Storm here. And then Gilbert is
I
the
actually
third.
changed the strat so he only takes 1 and then I wait a turn.
Oh, cool.
enemy is trans.
So yeah, just saving that use of aim here right there in order to be using it just a little bit later. And then moving on to Gilbert here, gonna go ahead and take him out. He has some crazy stats, but this Edelgard is adequate enough to go ahead and take him out in 1 turn as well. And then there is also a trigger on this map that'll spawn Flame as another commander that Claris just completely skips, so you don't have to kill that last commander.
Yeah, it's either if you kill Shamir and Eloise or their replacements before Sedith, or if you stop like a certain like spots on the map. So what I did before Eloise when I ended the turn, I stopped like 1 tile above the trigger for Flame so that she wouldn't appear.
Yeah.
Story-wise, Flame actually did die, apparently. So.
Yeah, that map definitely took a lot of trial and error trying to figure that out, because Flame actually has 2 spawn points on that map too. So just kind of figuring out where she spawns, why she spawns, does save quite a bit of time from the original strategy of just kind of slow roll.
Yeah, so Edelgard, like all the other house leaders, just got a second new class. We don't want that, so we're immediately going to reclass her back to Wyvern Rider as soon as the next chapter starts.
Yeah, flying is too good, and the extra stats she gets from her Lord class don't really add enough to make it.
I see.
I'm getting it.
It is part.
Yes, replacement units are weaker than the original characters, if he happens to recruit them.
All right, so moving into chapter 16, this from here on out, a lot of these maps do rely on some RNG, just kind of depending on what happens with your hits, what happens with your misses, and just where your units wind up. So this chapter is another kill the commander map, and there's 5 commanders on this map that you have to kill, and just kind of they're spread out throughout the entire map. So getting to them all is kind of a pain. And then Felix has like a super high dodge chance, and Violet can just decide to keep missing over and over again. And it is a nightmare.
Let's clean up.
Yeah, so this chapter and the next chapter are ones where like you do
What's my strategy?
use like all the units you have, all 6 of them.
For the Empire.
Wait. Oh wow, she is slow.
Father,
That may be bad.
I'm awake.
Yeah, so right now Edelgard is only
Understood.
1 Xing Rodrigue there, which isn't a problem for Rodrigue,
What's the
but
plan?
it might be a problem on some later units that we're going to have to fight. So during that big long menu, Claris switched Violet's Gambit to be one that hits this big rectangle in front of you. So something that is important on this map is that Gambit will go ahead and root Felix where he's at, because Felix is just an absolute monster on this map. He will just run through your squishy characters like they're butter. So by rooting him in place, you get basically another turn to go ahead and deal with him. You're just stalling out.
Yeah, and he has a special item that gives him skills that sometimes have damage. So he very does not like to die.
All right. He went down there, not a big deal. So you kind of see Edelgard just streaking along the left side of the map here. She's going to be taking out Ingrid, who's the commander in the top left, and then warping Violet over here to go ahead and take out Cornelia, who's the top middle commander. But something super important that does need to be done is this robot right here drops Agtherum, and that is what is needed to repair Amir. So by breaking all 4 of the tiles on this little robot right here, Claris is going to go ahead and get that regent and be able to repair Amir, which is going to be used on chapter 18 a whole bunch of time.
I may not survive.
Oh, 3 HP. So, now I'm using Javier to take out the remaining tiles of its shield from over the wall, which is a really nice strat.
Shamir's still in that sniper role, so she can go ahead and hit from really, really far away. And then Edelgard's going to go ahead and clean up Ingrid here, and that should be map over.
Yeah, the speed is terrible, and I don't know how that's going to work out for me.
So the biggest breakpoint coming up is on chapter 18, and you need a good amount of speed in order to 4x with Brave Axe on Immaculate One, who's the very, very final.
Yeah, and that is super important. One thing in normal mode is that you can restart a battle while keeping the experience you've gotten in that battle. So, like, worst case is I start the battle over with all the levels I've gotten, and then I can get more levels, and etc.
Yeah, it's really handy if things don't go exactly as planned, which is another just kind of bonus of running the game on normal. A lot of speedrunning this game does come down to RNG, so if you're going for PB attempts and you want to try to get a better time, sometimes you just don't get the RNG roll you need. It's like running any other RPG, you know, sometimes you just don't get it. You have to reset because the game wasn't nice to you.
Now.
This spot.
So, Edelgard just got alert stance, thankfully. What it does is give her plus 15 avoid if all she does is wait for her action. The thing is, you have dancers, so that you can wait and then dance and then still do stuff for the rest of the turn, and you keep that plus 15 avoid. So that'll be super useful for the last 2 chapters.
Yep. So this map coming up is probably the largest source of RNG in the entire run. This map is where you lose the most time, just because it is, again, another kill the commander map. And this is the point in the game where you're actually like under leveled compared to what the game wants you to be at. So you're relying on a good amount of luck in order to kill these commanders, and they have really, really high stats.
For the Empire.
So any of you that played this map casually, you know that the original map objective was to get to and kill Dimitri and Mercedes, as well as this generic unnamed commander over here. But then the church comes in and they try to ruin your day. So Rhea's going to pop up. So the very first order of business is getting Edelgard all the way to the right side of the map to where Rhea's spawn point is going to be, because Edelgard is really the only unit that can contend with Edelgard with Rhea. So she's going to have to take her out, and Violet is going to be moving up the left side of the map in order to take out Mercedes.
I do agree that Edelgard's the only one that can contend with Edelgard, though, for sure. So yeah, doing that, I have exactly enough to reach Dimitri. 272s. I failed. I did already move with her.
Let's clean up.
So I got
I'm awake. Understood.
So
What's the
what
plan?
Claris is doing here is she's looking at the probabilities of these attacks hitting Dimitri. So Dimitri has pretty high dodge, and he does quite a bit of damage. So by changing some of the RNG throughout here, she's basically just hoping for Edelgard to land some of these attacks.
For the Empire.
Yes! Okay. I am fine. The super important thing is that if you do not kill Dimitri that turn, the dude will transform into a monster. And, good luck taking it out.
Yeah, he just becomes an absolute nightmare if you don't hit that little breakpoint right there. And then,
Oh yeah, also, Byleth killed, Mercedes. Sorry.
Byleth killing Mercedes on the counterattack there is definitely a little bit of a time saver. She can be a little bit of a pain, but Byleth at this point has high enough stats where he can take her out pretty much regardless.
Byleth just wanted to do something impressive there so that you remembered that she existed.
I'm relevant.
I mean, it's true though. We really haven't been using Byleth a whole heck of a lot until these last 3 chapters, so it's been pretty much the Edelgard show until right here at the end.
And now
Still the
it's
Edelgard show.
once again completely the Edelgard show.
Yep, so important point 1 that we need to make here is this is where you repair Amir. So on that last mission, Amir is completely broken, used all 5 uses of Raging Storm, but that Agdarum we got in chapter 16 is going to allow Edelgard to get a brand new shiny axe that she's going to use to slay some dragons.
Yep. And this is the final chapter, so time will be coming up after this.
So this is another, again, kill the commander map. Except the commander in this map is actually Rhea transformed
clean up.
into a giant dragon.
I'm grateful.
So Immaculate One is a big 3x3 dragon.
What's the
So
plan?
we've been seeing a lot of the 2x2 bosses. This one is much larger, and Edelgard is going to basically go in and show us why she's the hero of this.
Yeah, so she just keeps using her axe to keep going over and over and over and over in the same turn.
So yeah, you just break the one tile and keep hitting that vulnerable tile over and over and over until Immaculate One just falls.
Yeah, I don't think this is enough. So this is gonna be fun improvisation.
So yeah, basically just leaving your other units to the wolves down there, and just hoping Byleth doesn't die, because that is a lost condition of this.
Tread carefully.
Generally, with better speed, you're pretty much able to guarantee a 1 turn on Immaculate One, but this Edelgard decided to low roll. Not a huge deal, but that Gambit is a little bit.
Oh, she's rattled.
Yeah.
Oh, it's over. Oops. I'll time. that ended unexpectedly.
Yep, Edelgard finished off Immaculate One on the counterattack.
That's just a thing that happens sometimes.
When humanity stands strong and
So yeah,
people
that was
reach
Fire
out
Emblem
for
Three
each other.
Houses. If
There's
you're
no
interested in
need for
speedrunning
gods.
this game,
Rhea,
there's a Discord. We have
your
some
reign of
resources up
tyranny
on
is
speedrun.com. It's a pretty friendly game for players that are new to the Fire Emblem series that want to learn to run a game. I know I really enjoyed it. It was my first
The
Fire Emblem
time
game
has
running, and Claris has some good resources that can be used, and her runs are just absolutely amazing. I would highly recommend
I'm
checking it
ending
out.
this once and for all.
Yeah, likewise for me. It's my first Fire Emblem game that I've speedrun, and I really enjoy it. And the Discord is a great resource full of awesome, awesome people. So definitely check it out if you are interested in this game at all.
Yeah, it's also my first Fire Emblem run, so like this game sure has brought in a lot of newcomers. So yeah, that's 3 houses, and then Byleth died. The end. Bye everyone.
GG, Claris.